Alrighty, Founder Wisdom Pod with Rafa Jiménez with us live from Ciudad de Mexico, I would guess, Rafa. I was
Yes.
telling Rafa prior to the pod that I've seen lots of talent come out of the Tecnológico de Monterrey. So I guess I'm going to interview more folks that studied there. Rafa has an interesting background. He started as a programmer. He started his first business before I was born. That's in 91. I was born in 93. So I was a construct of the universe back then. I wasn't this conscious thing that I am today. What is consciousness? That's not a good response. Question that is, or response in a metaphysical world. We're going to talk today about boring question, but I'm pretty sure Rafa has an interesting answer to it, which is, what is creativity? Rafa has a very interesting career to answer that question. Very interesting angle. Nowadays, he's founders at Synapse, by the way. We're also going to discuss that. But before we do, Rafa, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Sure thing. Well, thank you for having me, Charles. My name is Rafa Jiménez, and I am I'm Mexican. I've been working for quite some time in the creative industries. I think about 23 years by now. And as a result of that, I've been able to, examine the way that people come up with ideas and try to understand how to make people more creative and how to abstract the way that we come up with ideas, and that's the way that Synapse got its start, just by trying to understand how we could help people to come up with more and better ideas faster. And I live in Mexico City, as you mentioned. I live with my wife. I have 2 grown kids that are on their own now, and that's me basically.
And congrats on Mexico winning the Copa de Oro or whatever that was. And I think the guy that scored the goal was Jimenez, no? The winning goal, that is. So 25 years in the creative field, that is quite a lot. You also spent time at Ogilvy Group and very prominent companies, at least in the creative field. So let's get to the question. What is creativity for you, Rafa?
Well, I like the definition from Steve Jobs that creativity is about connecting things that were not connected previously before. And the reason I like that is because it's very simple. It's very easy to explain, but at the same time, it opens up interesting things to think about. Because when you see it that way, there are 2 things to take into account. One is that there is no thing that can actually come out from nothing. You have to have prior things in order to create new things, right? So, and the other thing, and the one that I find the most interesting, is that the more distant the things that you are connecting are, the more potential for creativity. But also, it's very close to nothing, to be something absurd, or to be something that doesn't really solve the problem. So the tension lives there between the things that are, very far from the problem, so to speak, but that are not so far that it becomes something that it's not usable, right? And so that's the reason why I like it. I think that it's about that, and many people have this misconception about creativity and originality by thinking that you have to come up with something that has never ever existed, or it's not like anything else out there. And really, that's impossible, right? So you have to start with something. There's this funny quote by Carl Sagan that said something like that: in order to create, it's like his recipe for an apple pie, and the first step is you have to create the universe first, right? Because that's what everything that you see now, everything that people create comes from some other people, or from nature, or from observations, or from wherever, but it's not anything that, just pops out from nowhere.
Laws of physics, I guess. Although, yeah, we don't fully understand them, but yet I would agree with the basic definition of creativity. Then to my mind came, when you're in a research lab, studying stuff, making experiments and discovering new things. These things already existed, it's just that you discovered them. So you didn't create something new out of nothing, but it's still advancement from a scientific point. And because I was asking myself these questions when it came to AI and GPT, what will be AGI? AGI will be this thing that will create advancement. It will dig through this sea of nothingness and discover things by itself, and then scale these discoveries by sheer quantity and numbers. What would be your definition of an AGI?
Well, to me, an AGI is basically an entity that can do all the things that we expect a human to be able to do and more. And once that's achieved, it will be an interesting world to live in, because we are definitely not very, we don't know what that's like to be in the presence of more intelligent beings than we are. But I also play Go, this game originally from China, and it's 3,000 years old or 4,000 years old. And in 2016, AlphaGo famously defeated one of the greatest Go players alive, Lee Sedol. And I was watching those games because I was part of the community of people who thought that there was no way that a machine could win a game like that. And I was taken aback by the result. But the thing to me that's interesting is that the first reaction is like, wow, it's like a loss for humanity, right? Because it is like the person who was representing us, so to speak, against the machine lost. But then the more positive view of that was that there is now like a super teacher that is taking the game to levels that we couldn't possibly imagine, even if we were playing as a species for thousands of years. So it's very, very, very interesting to think of those scenarios and what happens when you are like tutored, so to speak, by a super intelligent being.
A lot of people felt weird after, the Go game happened. Some even cried. I don't know why.
Yeah. And professional players, by the way. So.
Yes. Well, I guess they cried for their career or their dreams, which is pretty sad thinking about it. I played Go. I was pretty bored by it, maybe because I didn't understand the whole game. So I would just like place my things mindlessly and didn't really understand the strategy. Like, why isn't my player just mirroring what I would do for the whole? Oh, I guess if I do that, he's going to win by one. I'm a chess player. I have gone pretty bad lately because taking care of puppies and I'm not sleeping enough, which is interesting. My cognitive capabilities were somewhat diminished. So I deleted my chess app off my phone. That was a big step. And I was wasting a lot of time playing chess. So, AI is technical. Technically, AI can beat us at pretty much everything and anything until we kind of merge with it, is my thesis. I was speaking to a Y Combinator founder this morning, and he was arguing that an AGI couldn't crack the stock market because it would have to predict the future. But I told them, that the future was probably a human construct, for an AGI. This alien thing, future might not exist, and so will somewhat crack the laws of physics. And that's an uncertain future, right? Because we're going to places where we don't know shit about.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're a member of the Serendipity Society. What
Yes.
is serendipity to you?
Well, serendipity is the this thing that happens in life when suddenly one thing that you were not expecting to happen happens, and in the case of serendipity, we usually think about that as a happy accident, right? As something that you were not expecting, but then it helps you to precisely connect things that you hadn't connected before in your mind. And it most of the work that the Serendipity Society has to do with well, basically understanding the phenomenon, but also trying to create conditions for more serendipity to happen, because it is understood that that's precisely the way to bump into discovery and innovation and creativity.
So tell me if that was a creative glimpse. You said serendipity, then my brain went to check on 7dpt.com. Well, it started with Seren DPT for PT for GPT, right? Wasn't available. Then it got with 7 DPT, 7 because it's a lucky number, right? Is that glimpse or sparks of creativity right there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I should pat myself on the back, I guess. I do fancy myself as a creative guy, you know? And if I ask myself, what is creativity? I think that was a good example right there. It's just merging various things together. 7, DPT, GPT, and getting the .com, I guess. But that's pretty weak and limited if I think of my creativity vs an AGI. You know, that was probably 2 or 3 or 4 things. An AGI can do that with 2, 3, 4K thousand things, you know. The scale of it, the sheer scale, I'm a huge believer in scale and quantity when it comes to cracking stuff. For example, in business, if I try 100 experiments, probably 3 will succeed.
Yeah.
And an AGI can cross correlate stuff. It can also do these 100 experiments in a couple seconds, vs me doing it over a 20-year career. And then I get these folks sometimes that quote unquote do not believe in AI. And I'm quite flabbergasted by that when I hear them say that, oh, they don't believe that AI can scale. And I mean, isn't that a lack of creativity? Not understanding.
It's a lack of imagination, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, right now I'm interviewing you. It could be my AI avatar. I'm a knowledge worker just like yourself. I spend most of my time on my computer. The AI could just record my screen and redo it and then experiment, probably have human supervision at the beginning and me telling it, okay, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. And reproduce probably exactly all my tasks and probably do it better, right? Like posting on LinkedIn, interviewing folks, connecting with them, responding to my emails. And I'm kind of ashamed to admit that this is my CEO life, you know, it's probably 80% of CEOs out there. I'm not doing much creative stuff. So what do you think the world will be in a couple of years from now with in this AGI world? Will it be all of a sudden everything will break apart, the stock market will be cracked, businesses will be created in mere seconds? Where would that leave us?
Well, we're going to be seeing definitely many things changing in ways that that it's hard to predict. But if you look at what's happening, for example, in education with students, for example, cheating by using something simple and commercially available like ChatGPT, you understand that the whole foundation of how we learn and how we certify that somebody has learned something has to change, definitely, right? So it's not important anymore to validate somebody's knowledge by looking at paper or a homework or something like that, because that doesn't really reflect anymore their own capabilities, if you want to test their own capabilities. But on the other hand, it opens up a big opportunity for reimagining what education is and what learning is, and how can you as an individual probably pursue a very, very particular road for your knowledge and your career and everything, by having just access to many, many things and having them connected and making sense in between by artificial intelligence helping you to connect stuff and guiding you through by whatever piques your curiosity. And I think that's, I will have loved to be born in that moment when I was a kid, instead of just being forced to learn things that were not really interesting to me, or at least the way that they were teaching it to me was not very interesting. And it was, and we have this very industrial way of looking at education that we've been living with for too many years now. So that's ripe for disruption, and that's a good thing. But in the meantime, it's going to be a bit chaotic. And I think that the same thing is going to be happening to creative industries, to business in general, just because for so long we haven't really questioned the way things work, and we're just going by inertia and stuff like that. And then these kinds of technologies are going to allow us to make tough questions and provide interesting new avenues for development of everything. So even probably business models, but also ways of working as a society, and probably governments and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be very, very important.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite years from a serotonin level are the 80s and the 90s, and I was born in 93. So, I mean, it's probably this false conceptions, the Miami Vice years with the Lamborghini Countach, the white Lamborghini Countach. And I have this mole that's angry and trying to get on my face. I mean, times is this interesting thing, right? And another question is like, what if I was born in these years? I'm arrogant enough to think that the world would be a different place today because I would have shaped it. I have ambitious goals, and yeah, I think by my 40s I'll accomplish pretty flabbergasting things. And what if like an Elon was born in 1800s? Would things have been different today? I think it's quite amazing.
I don't think so.
No,
No.
because yeah, there wasn't like any lights and stuff, but I mean there was Tesla. Okay, like if you study Tesla, he was this mad scientist. Tesla only lacked execution. So if you would have teamed up with who's my favorite inventor again? Alexander? No, I forgot his name. The light bulb guy. I'll come back to his name. Yeah, but Edison, thank you. Such an interesting guy. And Tesla too, but yeah, Tesla, I mean, he put Wi-Fi 200 years ago, and well, the ancestor of Wi-Fi. So yeah, I have these questions, but these are not that interesting in that concept. That the question I want to ask you is, you've worked at Ogilvy, you worked at Havas, so like huge agencies, creative agencies, right? Behind the most successful publicities that we've seen on TV and nowadays are iPhone. Do you think that these companies will have a creativity GPT, granted that we have to teach this algorithm how to make fun stuff for humans, right? Because we say that GPT hallucinates nowadays, but what if this is valuable to his alien eyes, and this alien brain that we kind of created? So that, like, do you think they'll have that? And how much human supervision will there be for the final product, and how quick will they get to like a stargazing ads that you see nowadays on the TV, obviously created by humans?
Yeah, well, that's basically what Synapse does. Synapse is a tool to help creatives to come up with more and better ideas, right? So the way that Synapse works is by combining the abilities in terms of language articulation that large language models like GPT have, but combining it with our algorithms and models that can provide it with divergent thinking and with serendipity. So that's what makes the ideas that come out of Synapse more unexpected than what you will get from a large language model, just because of the way that these models work, which is or are made, which is basically probabilistic, right? So it's very likely that this string of words follows that string of words. So that's not very creative in itself, although it's very articulated, and it sounds intelligent, sounds coherent. So combining the two, it's very powerful. And I think that agencies, to your question, are already, some are working with us, some are trying to build their own thing. I think that it's not as simple as it looks, obviously. And when are they going to be when these tools are going to be on their own, generating from start to finish, like an award-winning thing or like a very popular advertisement or something like that, I'm not sure. I'm more on the camp of giving people materials to work with, and that they can identify if there's potential in this idea or that idea, and then polishing it and developing it and making it shine. This phrase by Linus Pauling that said that the best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. And it's true. I mean, it's like you said with the thing about businesses, right? If you could have 100 businesses, well, 3 will probably be good businesses, but as a human in a human scale and time, it's impossible to do that thing. And the same goes for ideas. If you could have like tons of ideas in front of you, there's a very big chance that 5 of them, 10 of them are going to be really, really powerful. And just providing creative individuals or teams with that is going to be very, very fruitful and very prolific.
Not sure if it's my extreme brain, but just like I can see an AGI cracking the stock market and making shit go mayhem, I can see the same with a real-time AGI that would produce real-time publicity on Facebook and get millions and millions of orders in seconds, totally manipulating or serotonin-energetic systems.
We're kind of basic as a species in that regard. I mean, it's not that difficult to push our buttons, as history has taught us.
Yeah, just try to make someone angry, right? It's so easy.
Yeah.
And like, how many humans have self-control over their anger? Just try to provoke them, like you'll get them pissed in seconds. Just like right. You can make them fall in love with you in seconds. Just tell a Mexican a romantic thing, like it works pretty much all the time. Or just like make someone aroused, right? Show them boobies or traseros, and you will get them aroused. And same for women, show them a 6-pack or 8-pack of a blue-eye blonde guy. I mean, yeah, we're somewhat simple, and my hopes is that we'll merge with machines to avoid that, because I think that makes us somewhat vulnerable. And then the question I have, is, and probably the last question here, because I know we're on time, is I don't want that tsunami to catch me. I'm building my businesses, and I'm quite patient, but I want to accelerate things. I'm slowly but surely building a couple of beautiful communities, my newsletter, my followers on LinkedIn, this podcast. But I'm like, shouldn't I be working on AGI? Because once I get caught by that wave, it's almost checkmate, AlphaGo style, what should I do? Should I tinker with AGI on the side? Should I be very good at copying, so that when I see this technology pop out, I'll just copy the code base and have my competitor China style. What should I do there?
Well, I think that it's very important to dip your toes at least in all these things that are going around, and see what are the capabilities, and what those things trigger in your mind. Like, probably are things that other people are not seeing. You'll be able to see precisely by just understanding how these things work and just using them. And I don't think, even if things are moving really, really fast, I don't think they're going to be moving so fast as to leave us completely unprepared for that. I mean, if you look at, I mean, it's a lot easier, for example, to put something out into the world like ChatGPT, which is for regular people, consumer people, than try to, for example, have corporations use that and pay for that, right? It takes probably a couple of years to actually implement those things within organizations, just because they have, lots of security concerns, privacy concerns, and obviously change management, like having people change their ways to incorporate new tools and new ways of working, and all that kinds of things. So it may seem that it's extremely urgent, and probably we should be thinking of doing something like right now. But I don't think that's exactly the case. Although I definitely recommend to be, on top of what's happening and trying to understand and trying to see where things are going, what direction, and how your life plan is it compatible with that or not, or if you want to make the case and make action for taking it to another direction because you feel that that direction is not good, not only for you, but for your community or your species, right?
Yeah, don't be too much of a prey of FOMO, but the irony is that the best CEOs out there are completely addicted to this game. They're very serotonin driven. I guess, like, keep on experimenting, right? And the thing is that I've seen people analyze history way too much nowadays. Yuval guy is a good example of that. He's constantly referring to history, yet just analyzing history to make your conclusion is being totally blind. And also time and energy are quite asymmetric, so making predictions about the future is quite hard. And as always, I think just keep on enjoying life, I guess, in the process, right? Rafa, thank you for showing up today. Cool, creative conversation we had. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, there is my personal site, rafajimenez.com, and there's also at Synapse. So Synapse, you can find it